Welcome to a special Sunday instant reaction college football special. I'm your host Noah Love, and today or tonight, I should say, we're going to be talking about the two games that happened this Sunday evening and night. South Carolina and Virginia Tech, and Miami and Notre Dame. One was a defensive slugfest, the other was an instant classic for the ages. One of college football's great. One of the best, probably the best game of the weekend. Let's actually just jump straight into this one. Notre Notre Dame loses a close one to Miami. Miami wins a thriller 27-24. Uh, what more can you say about this game than Carson Beck? Let's talk about the Miami side of this first. Carson Beck was great. I thought he was great. I thought he was efficient. I thought he made all the decisions he made tonight were good. He threw two touchdown passes, no turnovers. The big thing was they did not ask him to be Superman. And last year at Georgia, a lot of things went wrong for him. That Georgia's inability to run the football, they kind of asked him to do everything on offense. Their inability to protect him at times, receivers not getting separation, receivers dropping passes. A lot of things a lot of things just went wrong for Miami, or not for Miami, for Carson Beck last year. This year, in this game specifically, they were able to run the football. Some they were Carson Beck had time to throw. He also showed a little bit of mobility on his first touchdown pass that he threw. It was a nice one. Malachi Tony, a star is being made. He was their best receiver tonight. Also, CJ Daniels had an incredible one-handed catch before halftime. That was great. I put in the notes because yes, I take every game whether it's NFL or college. If you've been on the channel for a while, you know this. I take notes. Some are extensive, some aren't. Flipping through them here, I put look. This is what I put. I said Carson Beck is being conservative but aggressive. What does that mean? He was being conservative in the decisions he made because you obviously don't want to be the turn the ball over, but he was also being aggressive in terms of in terms of when he had to make throws. He when he had to make tough decisions, he would make the right decisions, and he would make very good throws. So I say he was conservative but aggressive. I also put in my notes, he appears to be back, meaning this is the best game he's played probably since the Tennessee game late last year. I'd say that was probably his best game of that season of the last couple seasons. I think this one was a little bit better than that. Uh, I just think this one was a little bit better because even with that Tennessee game, I think he had a turnover in there. The way he operated the offense was really good. Carson Beck, really good in this football game. But to me, Beck is not the whole story. The defense is part of the story. That Miami defense, Ruben Bain Jr., they were able, those two edge rushers, after. They got after uh, Notre Dame in those tackles. Look, we'll get to Notre Dame in a second, but Miami flying around. Their DBs were making plays on the football. They were stopping the run. They stopped the run pretty effectively tonight. I mean, Jeremiah Love only ran for 33 yards. I mean, Miami, this was a well played football game. Now, I know it got a little shaky. Look, they were up 10 late, surrendered the lead back. Look, there was some rustiness on both sides, but it was a very well played football game for Miami, and they did enough to win. And at the end of the day, for week one, that's all you can ask for. And look, Miami, the ACC looks great or good to start. Look, Miami needed this one considering, look, okay, you're going to be Bethune Cookman. Then you have South Florida at home, which should be interesting. Then Florida comes to town week four. That, depending on where Florida is at that point, that could be an amazing game. That could be an amazing game. But if you're Miami, you feel great because you won a top 10 matchup to start the season against a team that just went to the national title game. I think you won the battle up front, and boy, trust me, that was a battle. Your quarterback played well. Your defense made improvements. Obviously, a lot of stuff to clean up, but you can ask for a better start to the season for Miami. The convicts, Catholics versus convicts. The convicts reign supreme. Okay, now I want to go to the Notre Dame side of this because I thought, look, the the way this game was played on their side, it was it was really sloppy from the offensive side of it. From the defensive side, I thought they were okay. Miami receivers obviously made some big time catches, big time plays. They had some penalties. Uh, I have more of an issue with their offensive coordinator tonight. Notre Dame's offensive coordinator. Uh, I didn't think he called a real great game. Uh, CJ Carr has a lot of arm talent. Look, the first couple drives, I understand him throwing in the quick game. They were trying to settle him in. But, bro, every 5 plays, it was the same screen pass. The same screen pass. And in the fourth quarter, it ended up being an interception because the Miami DB, he reads it, tips it up. Ruben Bain does a great job of tracking the ball down. Look, that interception is the reason why Notre Dame didn't win or we're still playing right now because I think it would went to overtime. And you can say, well, we should stop them on the last drive. Yeah, but at that point, it's 21-14. You just had scored a touchdown. You just had got a three and out. And you're from what? Your own, what, 35 at that point? Somewhere around there. And that pick happens, and then Miami, they only run 3 plays, but because of the pick, they're already in field goal range, so they kick it and it's good. Like, I don't know what the Notre Dame's offensive coordinator was doing tonight. CJ Carr, by the way, I also put in my notes, CJ Carr is a gamer. This guy, man, look, that first touchdown throw, he was under duress. He got out of like 2 to 3 sacks, and he just slings it to a wide open man for a touchdown. I believe the guy was, I don't remember. It might have been Micah Kilbert. I can't remember. It might have been him. But the touchdown pass he threw was great. But they just didn't run the ball enough for me. Jeremiah Love got 10 carries for 33 yards. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. He needs more carries. Jadarian Price has 6 carries for 45 yards. Okay, but Jeremiah Love needs more carries. They got to figure that out. You can look. I understand. A lot of people were excited for C.J. Carr because he has a better arm than Riley Leonard, and I think he does. I actually don't think he played bad in this football game. Now, was it great? No, but was it decent to good? I feel like, yeah. Now there's obvious it's week one, so there's things they can improve on. The positive for Notre Dame is, look, we played like mid or garbage. You could say garbage, and we only lost the game by 3 points. Miami was the better football team on this day. Notre Dame's got Texas A&M at home in 2 weeks in week 3. That's obviously going to be a big one. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board and see where they went wrong. How can we get Jeremiah Love more involved in the football game than we did? Because he's our best. Because at the end of the day, he's their best player. He's their best player. So you gotta find ways to get get him the ball. Whether it's in the receiving game, whether it's in the run game. I mean, they had him in the receiving game a little bit tonight, but I'd still 10 carries for a guy that's very explosive. I mean, Miami took Notre Dame best player effectively out the game. That's what they did. Also, key, where the game was won to me, Miami 119 to Notre Dame's 93 on the ground. 2 turnovers by Notre Dame to the zero. And Miami won the time of possession by 7 minutes. Those three stats are why Miami's walking away with the W, because everything else at that up is pretty much even up to that. Look, this was a great week 1 game. I'm so glad that this entire weekend has been fantastic. Each top 10 game has been great. I believe that. Each top 10 game has been really good. And look, for Notre Dame, it's not an easy schedule uh at after this, but you get a bye, you get Texas A&M, then you get Purdue after that at home, both games at home. If if I am a Notre Dame fan, I have all the confidence in Marcus Freeman to bounce back, go back to the drawing board, and we're gonna fix the things we messed up on. We're gonna improve on the things we did well, and we'll be ready to go. Because Texas A&M, trust me, that's going to be a tough opponent. I mean, Marcel Reed, that's going to be, I mean, that's going to be a tough. That's he's going to give Notre Dame some problems with his ability to run and throw. But Texas A&M did not look the greatest at times against UTSA. But that's besides the point. Notre Dame, Notre Dame takes a tough L. Miami, great win. Is the U? Is this the year the U is back? I won't go that far, but in terms of the ACC, I told you, much better conference. I think this year, I think that's the number one thing coming out of this really for this week is that, yo, the Big Ten still we know that they're going to be really good. The SEC, LSU may be the best team in the conference. Look, Jerry's still out on that. We got to see Georgia play a meaningful opponent, but LSU passed their test. The ACC, now, is it better than the Big 12? Maybe. Maybe. Well, look, the Big 12, Utah, maybe is Utah that good or is UCLA that bad? Kind of the latter. We'll talk about that later in the week. And Nico, boy, you messed up bad. But in terms of the ACC, Florida State looks really good. They beat Bama by 2 scores. Miami wins this great football game on Labor Day weekend. Uh, Clemson, look, they're Clemson. I think they'll be fine. It wasn't great from an offensive standpoint. Defense, I thought was fine. Uh, but they could be better, obviously. But I still think they'll be a contender. SMU, obviously, I think is going to be in that running, considering people are sleeping on them. They went to the title game last year. They still have Kevin Jennings, who you can make a case for as one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the ACC. And obviously, you guys know how high I am on Georgia Tech. So the ACC is going to be a very competitive and, quite frankly, tough league this year. And also, a team I'm sleeping on, Louisville. Louisville could sleep on. They may be really good. I got to see how North Carolina looks. But point is, ACC is going to be a tough league. But great win for Miami. Just outstanding win. Probably the win, the best, actually, not even probably, the best win of the Mario Cristobal era for Miami. The best win. It's better than anything they did last year and the year before that and the year before that. Great win. Okay, and then we'll end it off with South Carolina. South Carolina beats Virginia Tech in what is a defensive just slugfest, 24-11. Look, South Carolina, if you if you if I were to ask if somebody were to ask, this is how I should phrase it. If somebody were to ask me, is this a game? What is Beamer ball? If somebody were to ask me, what is Beamer ball? I'd point to this game because that's what this was. Beamer ball. Offense couldn't had a great first drive. After that, kind of struggled. Were up and down. Defense was really good, but it's a slugfest. You need a play to turn this game. Who's gonna make the play to turn this game? South Carolina does, but just like how his dad did at Virginia Tech when it was a defensive slugfest when Frank Beamer, Shane Beamer's dad, was coaching. A special teams play would turn it. Same thing happened here. A special teams play turned it. Bakari Swan, 80 yards on that punt return to the crib. At that point, it was 10-8. Yes, 10-8. This isn't baseball. This is football. It was 10-8. He takes that to the house, makes it 17-8. That was the big play that gave South Carolina some breathing room. Look, I know Virginia Tech got a field goal after that to make it a 6-point game, but then Lenora Sellers hit the big time throw to Nick Harbor for 64 yards and a touchdown. I thought Sellers played well. I thought he was solid. He was 12 for 19, 209, touchdown and a pick. Didn't put the ball in harm's way that much. Scouts are going to be calling him because he's not coming out in this year's draft, but next year's the year after, so 2027 draft, potential number one pick. We'll see. Uh, we'll see about that. We'll see this season. Look, South Carolina. I talked about it this week when I was talking about this game, and picked. I still pick South Carolina by a touchdown. South South Carolina won the game by 2 scores. I said in week one, they're not the most crisp. Again, they weren't the most crisp, but that defense did not allow a touchdown. Now, Kyron Drones made some dreadful decisions in this game, like the one in the red zone. Like, bro, you're just better off running that than throwing that. Than throwing that. That was a dreadful decision. They ran the ball okay. Look, I don't know what Virginia Tech's really going to do this season. But South Carolina, could this be the year they make the playoffs? I don't know. But South Carolina, I'll just say this. They're they could be undefeated. They could be undefeated walking in to that LSU game, whenever that is. Uh, in that, depending on where LSU is on at that point, that's a very, very good game. Look, they're going to get some things cleaned up. They're going to come back next week, probably play better, and then they're right into conference play. They're right into conference play. So South Carolina played a really, really just good defensive game. Offensive game obviously needs to be better. We know that, but it's a great win. Okay, before I go, I have wrote down some of my winners and losers of week one just to start. Winner number one, Ohio State in the defense, mainly Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia put on a defensive masterclass against Arch Manning, and I'll kind of put Ryan Day in it too. Obviously, they look ever since that loss to Michigan, they beat ninth ranked Tennessee. They beat number one undefeated Oregon. Then they beat Texas, who was the 5 seed. Then they beat Notre Dame, who was the 7 seed. And then you come back in preseason number one, you knock them off there. Uh, Ryan Day promoted from within on the OC, and then went out and go get Matt Patricia. They lose all these players, and you have two different coordinators, and you beat the preseason number one team, and your defense was a bunch of young guys, looked as well, looked as good as it did. Impressive, impressive, impressive. Just very impressive. Another winner. Obviously from the week, USF. USF we talked about last night. Potential group of five contender. Byron Brown. People saw what he could do on a national stage. Uh, Even if they lose their next two games, which is they're both on the road. They're on the road at Florida this upcoming week, and then the week after they're on the road at Miami. Those won't be easy games, obviously. But I think in terms of national recognition, that USF, they the people, the country now knows about them and knows they're not here to play around. Uh, another winner of this is Brian Kelly and Blake Baker. You bring in Blake Baker last season. Last season they didn't get where they want to go for a multitude of reasons, but the defense was a big part of it. Their personnel was not great. This is an entirely different defense. I'm watching Harold Perkins Jr. be moved around. I'm watching Whit Weeks just at linebacker. Those two guys specifically all over the field. I'm watching the back end Clemson receiving core. They're getting clamped in the back end. I'm watching LSU just blitz the pants off of Cade Klubnik, and Cade has no answer for it. Look, what it all the personnel you bring in with Blake Baker, what an off season. What a change in one off season. Look, I know it's only week one, but if that's any indication of what we're in for, if LSU can win games with its defense this year, which it looks like they can, they're gonna be a real scary. They're gonna be really scary. Another winner, John Mateer. Uh, John. People are gonna be like, "What did John Mateer do? Only break the record for passing yards in a debut as an Oklahoma quarterback. Threw for 392. Just, just casually did that. Yeah, he looked really good. He looked really good. And look, I know it's just Illinois State, but look, they play Michigan, so the step up in competition is going to come very early. But compared to the quarterback play you saw last season, you like what you saw, and you're thinking if the offense can play well, get it rolling, we have a very good defense. I think they have a very good defense this year. Oklahoma could be a sleeper, make some noise in the SEC. Another winner, Tennessee and Joey Aguilar. They're a winner. Obviously, Florida State is a winner, and Miami is a winner. In terms of my winners, I'm not gonna go. Uh, yeah, those are my winners. Uh, Losers, Nico, quarterback UCLA. He's a loser. You well, oh, that sounded way worse than what I intended it to be, but we ball, I guess. Uh, in terms of the list, he's on my losers thing because this is what you have to think about. You look at the way Tennessee looked on Saturday afternoon against Syracuse, and they didn't miss a beat when Nico was gone. And now Nico goes to UCLA. He plays poorly, and then they get romped. And the road, and it's in front of like 33K people. UCLA's probably going to have a bad season, while Tennessee could be a playoff team. So you went from a playoff team, being on a playoff team that's sold out, that's going to sell out every game this season to watch whoever it is at quarterback play. You transfer from that school to UCLA, who's pretty much just kind of dead in the water. That's an NIL fumble, in my opinion. Another loser in this on my thing, Dabble Sweeney. Look, 0-4 against the SEC. They have his number. They have his number. Uh, then I have Alabama and Caleb DeBoer. Alabama as a program, they're 9-6 in their last 15. DeBoer's 5-5 in his last 10. You have to come to the realization now that Alabama just looks like a regular program. Probably is just going to be a regular program. It's not going to be what it was under Saban. Those days are gone. Those days are gone. That just is, look, it just is what it is. That it's tough. It's tough. Look, we can talk about Alabama more on another day. Look, I talked about them a lot in my uh review of college football week 1 that came up yesterday. Uh please, if you're watching this video, go and watch that. May even put the link in the description. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Yeah. So yeah. Also, yeah, we'll just yeah. And a loser, and this is the last one we're gonna do before I get up out here, Arch Manning. Arch Manning did not play well. He got a lot of hype that too, and I said this, that should have been pumped. They should have pumped the brakes on him. Let's see him play. But it's just Arch, he's been getting killed on social media, and it's really unfair. But the way he looked panicked, he looked nervous, he wasn't accurate. It just was a bad day. It just was a bad day, and I can only imagine how these sports shows are going to talk about him uh, on Monday morning. All right. This has been your college football special Sunday night edition of week 1. I have been your host, Noah Love. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. And by the way, before I go, I will have that Micah Parsons video up this week and my NFL Week 1 predictions. Stay tuned for those 2 videos. Those will be up this week. We are so back, America. All right, until next time, see ya.